Hi, Marco. How are you doing?
Very good. Thank you, Divya. How are you?
I'm good too. So, thank you, Marco, for joining me today for the first episode of Cimpress Talks Season 2. For those who are watching this for the first time, I would like to take a few seconds to briefly tell our audience about the show. The Cimpress Talks series is an avenue for me to speak to leaders candidly on various subjects. Last year, I started this series and it revolved around topics such as leadership, organization culture, technology, and design. And this year, I'm entirely focused around the theme of diversity and inclusion. And I'll be speaking to different leaders, exploring different areas of D&I. So thank you again for joining me, Marco. Today, we'll be talking about why we should be speaking about diversity and inclusion. But before we start the conversation, Marco, can you quickly introduce yourself to our audience, please?
Hi, yes, my name is Marco Lara. I work for Cimpress Technology. I'm responsible for the SaaS technology and customer success group. I've been with the company many years, and I would like to say the reason why I've been here for so long is because I've loved working here. I loved working with such a great group of people that are, also driven, that are really motivated by our mission. Like, who doesn't want to help small businesses grow? And we're also like a very collaborative and global team, and I find that very invigorating.
Great. So thank you, Marco, for the introduction. Now I think we can begin the conversation. So first thing first, how would you define diversity and inclusion as per your knowledge and experience, highlighting or distinguishing between the two?
Great. I think that's a very good question, and that's at the heart of the whole topic. Let me just start with diversity. Like, that's probably the easier one to understand. Really, like, what you want to have is, you want to have an organization or a society that actually reflects the medium it lives in, the society it lives in. So you have people from all walks of life. It's not just about, like, okay, how many people do you have that are, like, of different genders, not just people, but it's really people with very different backgrounds that really truly represent the society that our businesses operate in. So that's for diversity. And then inclusion is having an organization, and that is probably like if we have to say, it's probably the more important one, is the one that really we need to focus on, is having an organization that is actually welcoming to people from all these different backgrounds. It doesn't force us to fit a particular mold, but it actually welcomes us and values us for who we are, and appreciates the value that each one of us brings to the organization.
Right. Thank you for setting the base so beautifully, explaining both the key terms of the conversation. So now I'll start with what directly is related to our topic. Why do you think we need to speak about diversity and inclusion more aggressively than ever before?
So let's start with basically what's in it for us as an organization, as a community, and then we'll talk about how to achieve that. So the first thing is that organizations that are diverse and inclusive tend to be more successful. And it's logical when you think about it. It's an organization first that is able to represent better the company and, frankly, our customers and our markets, so it can relate more to our customers and our environment. But also, it's a company where, like, consistently, companies that are highly rated in these two dimensions tend to, like, report better employee satisfaction, more employee engagement, tend to be more creative, more innovative, and tend to have lower turnover. And so that's also, like, all very good. And the reason is because people basically are just happier working there. Now, it's hard, given all these good attributes. Why is it that people just don't do this? It's because it's actually quite difficult. And it goes to the heart of why inclusion is so important, because it actually forces us to change the way we are. Many times, we grew from our past or for whatever reason into places that tend to be more homogeneous than the societies we represent. And there's a lot of inertia to keep us that way. And we need to do a concerted and sustained effort to actually become more open, more welcoming to people that are different than us. And that takes a lot of effort. And that's why we need to focus on it.
Right. I think that is very beautifully explained. So would you like to list down some characteristics of a diverse and inclusive workplaces?
Yes. So, I mean, like obviously the easy thing to do is to look at your statistics. It's like, okay, like if roughly speaking, there's a 50% male to female, like is your employee or your workforce 50% and 50%. You can just look at stats in all kinds of different dimensions. If you do that, you risk basically inducing bad behaviors, like where it's like, okay, the next person I hire needs to, be from a certain ethnic background. Why? Because I'm underweight on that dimension, regardless of, whether they are the best fit for the company, where they will be the best contributor, and then you're gonna create all kinds of problems. Um, I think the things that you need to look at is, are we really a community that is truly diverse, that embraces the people that come in from different backgrounds for who they are? And one of the things that really stuck with me, that I heard somebody else say, is that truly inclusive organizations are not driven by people saying, treat others the way you would like to be treated. They're driven by the mindset of treating others the way they would like to be treated. Uh, that is really powerful, and it's really at the heart of how we want to be as inclusive organizations. Once we are a really inclusive organization, we're going to be diverse just naturally, because it will, the people that come from different backgrounds will recognize that this is a place where they can flourish, and they'll want to work here, and they'll want to stay with us.
I think the phrase that you said, treat others how they would like to be treated, is going to stay with me as well. That's quite different from what we usually hear from people saying that treat others how you would like to be treated. Right. Okay,
Right.
so Marco, in your opinion, what are the benefits of a diverse organization? You touched upon a couple of them, but what more are the benefits that you would like to mention?
Yeah, let's look at I mentioned some of the outcomes, if you will, but why is it that an organization that is inclusive, that is basically a place that is good to work with, why is it that it tends to be more successful? I mean, I believe that the reason for that is that, first of all, let's talk about, being basically more innovative. If you are a diverse organization where people feel empowered to be who they are, they're going to be more creative, and opinions and ideas are going to get more scrutiny, and there'll be also more diverse opinions and ideas that are going to enter into the consideration space. So you've all heard of these examples where people had a yes culture, let's say, and so maybe the leader came up with a bad idea, and then nobody really questioned it. People thought it was a bad idea, but they were just afraid to speak up, or they just didn't think it was done. You don't question, your leader. Organization we want to be, we know that the best ideas will come from truly random places, and they will come for random reasons. Sometimes somebody will be basically relating to something they saw at home or they experienced in the past, and they will come up with basically like a better way to do something based on that others that didn't have that background didn't think about it. So in order to be this way, you need to make sure that we're truly meritocratic, that basically the best idea wins, regardless of where it wants to, where it came from, and who advocated it. And once you do that, like I think people are going to feel much more comfortable. If you have to conform to something, if you have to change the way you are to be able to operate somewhere, you're not going to be as happy. You're going to feel constrained. So, once you feel fulfilled, you're happy, and you recognize that, this is home. This is a place that then you're going to be happy there, and you're going to stay there longer. So that's I think how basically inclusive organizations thrive.
Yeah, that's a very beautiful interpretation, that make organizations as good or as similar as homes, and it's going to be a huge success. Okay, Marco. So I think it's time to end this conversation now with this one last question. So, basis your experience and journey, would you like to share some thoughts on how organizations can be made more diverse and inclusive? Or to say in a very simple language, how can one achieve the benefits that you just mentioned above?
A very good question. What we have heard from people that actually have done this very successfully is that, first of all, it takes time. Because again, as we mentioned earlier, it actually requires that we change how we are, how we operate, very fundamentally. So it'll take time. We need to be very open-minded. Like, we don't even realize sometimes what kinds of biases we have. Let's talk about, one area of diversity that sometimes gets overlooked, the educational background of people. Some parts of our organization might be basically populated with people that come from certain universities, that have studied certain things under, with certain, certain backgrounds, that's good. But if you really want to be diverse, you may want to be looking in other places. Some of the most successful people in the world, and frankly, even in our organizations, didn't even go to the university. But finding those gems requires a different way of looking for them. It doesn't mean that you lower your standards, but you need to be more open-minded. Like, if your interviews are very geared towards having taken a particular class, those people will not do well on that, but that doesn't mean they're not going to succeed in our organization. So you can't lower the standard, but you need to broaden the standard in a way. That's hard. Once you basically are able to basically judge talent that is diverse from you, which is hard, you have to actually welcome it. You may need to mentor people that came from different backgrounds differently. You need to make them feel welcome. Like, sometimes even things we don't realize, like maybe, like there's some things you've heard, like where, maybe people use a certain language that maybe is hostile to women, and people might not even realize that they do it. When we need to change that, because, like we don't want to like create a hostile work environment. Like, nobody goes and says, I'm going to make people's life miserable when they come to work. But sometimes we do without noticing. Sometimes we box in people with stereotypes, and we need to change that. It takes a concerted effort. That's why I love that you're so focused on this, because it's an effort. All of us have to work at it. All of us have to understand why we do this, and we have to try it every day.
Uh, Thank you so much, Marco. I think I learned quite a lot from this conversation and just loved every bit of it. So thank you for taking out time for this. And yeah, this was truly insightful, and I hope our audience also loves it.
Divya, thank you very much for doing this. I think this will be very helpful in this long-term goal that we have.
Yeah, right. Thank you again, and I'll be soon back with the next episode. Until then, stay tuned and stay well.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.